everybody. It's Matt and Jennifer Lucas with the Franchising Company back for another edition of our Zoom series. Today, we are excited to be featuring Voda, one of very few franchises that are actually kind of two brands in one. And so we're excited to get to feature them today. As a reminder, as you're watching the video, if you like what you hear, click the link below and we'll check to make sure your territory is still available. Voda is selling across the country quickly and talk through some next steps. But with that being said, Dustin, nice of you to join us. We appreciate it. Do you mind just diving in? Give us some of the top things about Voda.
No, thank you for having us. We're very excited to be here. Like you were saying, Voda is really the only cleaning and restoration franchise. So exciting thing about that is you have predictable and recurring revenue, but you also have that high ticket restoration you're looking for. Another fun thing about us is we've never had an owner with any previous cleaning or restoration experience. If you're looking for a company you're going to be working on, not working in, Voda is the one for you. And kind of the final thing that we do very well is technology. We've been able to disrupt an archaic industry by implementing technology throughout our entire system. So the great part about this model is it's built for that owner that is looking to either maintain their career, dip their foot into entrepreneurship, or ready to jump in full time.
Awesome. All right. Well, you piqued my interest.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into the technology. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're actually the only restoration company using a digital LiDAR imaging app. So the great thing about that is your technician in this model, which cool part about that is we're helping you hire, train, and implement through our Talent Scout program. But they're walking into the home, they're digitally scanning the room. It's uploading to insurance companies, it's attaching or finding that mold in the homes. So it's more or less making it very simple for that technician to not make a human error or mistake, increasing profits and making it easier for you to get paid. The thing you'll find out about insurance is the back and forth is what makes it take longer to get paid, and we wanted to streamline that process.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. So with insurance companies, do you have any national accounts or relationships built already?
Yeah, so the cool thing about what we're doing is we have what's called a Flood It For You marketing campaign. So we're doing all their marketing and lead generation for them. But that being said, we are working on national accounts. You just don't want to approach those too early. We are growing very rapidly. We're working on getting our franchisees set for those. But we haven't had a real need for that as of yet because we're still doing their lead generation for them.
That's big.
Yeah.
That's really big. And you have a call center as well, right?
Correct. So a 24/7 contact center based here in the United States. So great part about that is every customer, every candidate that reaches out gets a thank you for calling Voda. How can we help?
And so correct me if I'm wrong, but what I understand is sometimes restoration can take a while to ramp up and to get those big ticket items. So having that predictable recurring revenue in the beginning is what I find the most appealing about it. So can you just touch a little bit on the actual model?
Yeah, and so that's the great thing. So really what we're doing is we're building the business on cleaning because you're correct. There is going to be an avenue where it's restoration and cleaning, multiple income streams, but we're building it that way. So the predictable recurring, hey, Steve, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Is there for them. So you're right. Our franchisees could come out of the gate, and it's one of those lucky things where they might land a handful of restoration jobs right out of the gate. We're helping them hire their technicians through our Talent Scout with experience. But you're correct. They're covering all expenses. I call it keeping the lights on, even though we're really a non-brick and mortar location. We're doing all of that through cleaning while we build the restoration side.
So I'm going to jump in real quick. So everybody watching, special treat. Not only do we have Dustin with us today, but we've got Steve joining us as well now. So Steve, welcome.
Thank you, guys.
For the viewers watching this recording, you just want to briefly introduce yourself as well?
Yeah. I'm Steve Miller. I run our development here over at Voda Cleaning and Restoration. I've been with the company Franchise Playbook and Voda since day one. So I'm here to kind of help leading the team. I help on the development end, but also help on the operational end, as well as a leadership team. So Really excited to be here. I apologize. I had a previous commitment a little bit beforehand, and Dustin here taking it over, but I'm here to help you guys answer any questions and help elaborate on some of the things that you guys are kind of looking for in different franchise opportunities.
No, that's great. Thank you. And hey, live webinars, right? You never know what's going to happen. So let's circle back. One of the things that our candidates are always looking for, which we touched on briefly, is lead generation. So you talked about you guys are doing that for your franchise owners. Can you just explain a little bit about what that looks like?
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up everything on the digital presence for you. So we're going to set up your websites. We're going to set up your digital presence. We build you out a marketing plan for your territory as well. So we're going to set you up with all the key vendors to make sure that we can help provide leads on both the cleaning and restoration standpoint. We're going to help manage those vendors alongside with you. And we're going to get you Google verified, allowing you to run the best ads. Essentially, everything on the digital presence is off your plate. Now, if you have, we have a lot of candidates that have a marketing background, or they want to be able to change some of the approaches, being that, hey, I want to lean on this vendor a little bit more. I like their leads and we're having a higher acquisition. You have total autonomy on that end. And you're also reviewing all the leads that come in. But we set that whole presence up for you. So when you launch after training, your digital presence is online. And then you have, you're tapping into experts, our CMO, 20 years in marketing, 15 years and plus in franchise marketing, having him being able to look at it and then tweak the marketing too as well. And then also, marketing changes, right? Some things that work today might not work in 3 or 4 years. So you have an expert that's overseeing your team and has skin in the game to ensure that your platform and search engine is going to be at the top of your local pages.
So yeah, 100%. It's huge. I mean, in today's presence, if you don't have that online presence, you're not going to be found, right? I've known Dan for a long time, and I know he's always on his social media pushing his franchise owners, which I've always thought was really cool. But he always talks about being mayor of the town, right? Talk to us a little bit about what being the mayor of the town means.
Yeah, I think from mayor of the town aspect, now that is a cynicism of your whole entire company.
Correct.
So we have franchisees that they're more of an operational minded individual, but they like people, right? So we have like for an engineer, you're not gonna think it's the biggest salesperson, right? But it's something where you're gonna have to go out and build relationships and let the community know that what you do. So part of that would be going out and networking, going out and meeting property managers, realtors, plumbers. Now, if that's something that you don't want to do out of the gate, that's something where you can hire somebody. We even have guys that are sales executives, right? You build a really great sales career. You're like, man, I don't want to have to go out there and meet all these individuals and all these meetings. We can hire a business development rep, but somebody has to be out there building relationships. That might be an owner who's then going to kind of the high level meetings, followed by a business development rep who's going out there and kind of drumming up business as well. But it has to be part of the factor of somebody's out there creating the presence of Voda in the community, right? We don't have a brick and mortar location. And then also, restorations industry where you want to find people before they have an event, right? You can't cold call for restoration. People have to know, hey, the Miller family that owns Voda, that's what they do. I'm going to give them a call. And that builds over time. So, for example, I'll give you just kind of example. One of our franchisees was sharing, they were at a children's party and maybe they didn't want to be there, right? You don't really know the other parents. And they start, what do you do? That led to a church that they had an event that the individual was seeing, and they went there and got the job, right? If they weren't talking about what they do, then that lead would have never came. And that's something where you're kind of eating and breathing, being essentially what we call the mayor of the town. And that's one of the exciting parts. You become a business owner. There's a lot of pride behind that name. I am the owner of the Voda locally, and being able to talk to people about what you do, hey, having business cards ready because you never know who you're going to jump into. And that's all part of, that's the one thing we can't do. We can provide a digital presence, but I can't be out there in the local community being an individual there. That's on our franchise owner, whether it's them or the team that they have at their location.
Well, and then a fun point to add to that too is, we have what are called franchise success coaches here. We pair our franchisees up as they're joining. So if any of your candidates are concerned, like, I don't know how to talk restoration, I don't know if I'm going to be able to build those relationships, our success coaches are going to help them with what to say, how to deliver that message. And all they have to go out is, I call it solutions-based communication. They're out building those relationships in their community.
And for your employees or the people that you're having do this, you guys help with that. You help with all the recruiting and all of the hiring and the interviewing, right?
Yep. Well, I think a couple big things that we check off the box for you there, right? We talked about, okay, how am I going to get leads? And who am I going to hire, right? That's a big question as these candidates come in, whether it's Voda or any other franchise model. So the big thing for us is if we're going to generate leads for you, now we need a team that can actually go out and do the work. And none of our franchise owners, the 88 that we have, none of them are actually doing the work themselves. They're managing their teams. Now they're going to job sites, they're being involved. We like to say manage a manager model means managing the manager, right? It's not hiring a manager and just letting them go off, right? No one's going to care more about your business than you. So for us, what we do is we're going to, with our lead generation background, we're going to generate the candidate profile for you, who we're looking for. We kind of have that operation manager, which is the first hire, kind of dialed into what we want with the experience level, the kind of the where they're at in their career, a couple key things we look for on that end, and we have that profile listed. So now all of a sudden you're going to get those candidates, and we allow our franchisee to do the first rounds because we wanted to be a fit from a personality standpoint. Also, we're hiring really talented franchisees, or not hiring, signing up franchisees. They've probably hired people before. They go for that first round of more formality of the key things that we have them check off. And then our team steps in to help talk restoration, right? Our franchisee, last one was in SaaS sales, right? He could interview people for SaaS sales, but for restoration, he doesn't know where to start, right? Doesn't have the technical experience. So that's where our team goes in to be able to help talk essentially the restoration questions and make sure they're the right fit during the hiring process. Then we help with templates on how do we compensate these individuals. Because our key things, we want to find people for you, and then we want to help retain them. And that all goes through making sure that we have the right upside for them, whether it's commission structure, and then the experience level matches the pay to be able to actually get the individuals as well. And one of the big things we talk about is trying to hire, the number two guy at the number one company, right? This is a $300 billion space. There's a lot of people out there that have these certifications, and going out and potentially, okay, there's a guy that's the third, tier manager on another competing company. He wants to grow. He has a lot of experience. He's got a lot of relationships. We're going to try and go out there and pick that individual off and then help him pair with a really talented, maybe former sales executive or whatever that may be for our candidate profile to help start a business from ground zero in the restoration space.
Awesome. And like you said, those are two major boxes that can be checked easily. The other one being the investment and not having to have that brick and mortar space. Can you touch a little on just the total investment all in?
Yeah, so our investment range is going to be 200,000 to about a little bit over 350,000. What's the variance in that is working capital. So we have a range in the working capital section of our item 7, which is going to give you, different range of this is what we think is going to be low end, the high end. I think you can never be wrong on the high end of working capital in any business that you start. But another big variance in there is the van itself. Part of being a franchisor is you want to leverage your buying power to ensure you get the best pricing for your franchisees and you have the right vendor that's going to meet the expectations as well. And so, all the vendors are looking at us as, okay, this is a 88 franchise system and growing. So we're getting great pricing. We're getting great customer service. And so part of that is we were able to get a lease to own program with a vendor. So if you were an independent, mom and pop restoration company, you wouldn't be able to go out and lease a fully equipped vehicle. You'd have to go and buy the equipment and they build it. So we put together a package where there's a truck mount or the engine that's on the truck itself, which is about $35,000 out of pocket, where you'd have to buy that if you didn't have a lease to own option. So we have a lease to own option that gets you in there pretty cheaply. Not a CPA, but there's some great write-offs for the van too as well. The majority of franchise owners do use that option at first. But the higher end of that variance is the buying the van fully equipped. Maybe you have a capital gains write-off that you want to have or something along those lines. And then also with SBA lending for a capital requirement, some SBA lenders are requiring the van to be purchased as part of the package for the collateral of the SBA loan. So that's when you see that range goes from 19 all the way to 93. And that's where you see that 200 to 350. Those are the two major variances there.
I was going to say, we've looked at other restoration brands with with our candidates in the past, and the investment is nowhere near that. It's at least double for the most part.
So one thing I want to circle back to, because we touched on it at the very beginning, is this is essentially two brands in one, right? And so I don't want to just kind of gloss over that. Can we talk a little bit about scalability, right? So starting with the cleaning side, moving into restoration, but then just scaling from there, and how you decide when it's time to add more team members and put another van on the road.
Yeah. So we put everybody on a development agreement if you have multiple territories. So we're not going to try and open up all these territories all at once. But as for the model itself, again, restoration's a massive space, a $300 billion industry. With our opportunity, right, as a franchisee, you're limited by the services you can offer and your territory size. So one of the things there, we have a lot of service lines. We talk about 2 franchises of 1, but if you look at our service lines and everything that we offer, it's actually probably about 5 to 6. And what that provides our franchisees is a way out of the gate to pivot. When I joined on, I mentioned Dustin was talking about maybe out of the gate, you have a great cleaning business started and restoration was a bit slow, or maybe it was vice versa. It gives you the ability to kind of pivot through. The other thing is no one is a restoration customer until they have a restoration event. So restoration is very lucrative. 2 challenges you're going to face that our model helps overcome. One, it's an unpredictable cash flowing business, meaning no one is going to call you before a pipe breaks in their home to schedule an appointment. So you have to enact. What comes first, the lead or your team? So by having a team that can do both, we can pivot, and this is a speed to lead type business. The first company that shows up usually wins that lead. So that's where that cleaning really plays a really important factor in that dual model. And the other aspect is the cleaning is an upfront cash flowing side. So, again, paying the bills upfront in between those big ticket restoration jobs, right? No employees. You want to retain employees. You want to hear, we have a big restoration job today. I don't know when the next one's coming in. And then no employer wants to hear, well, I got to pay people to be on call to wait for my phone to ring for a restoration job. So that's some of the things that it helps with. And it really helps with that really speed to lead type model as well. And then now let's talk about the cross-selling opportunity, right? So on the restoration front, Dustin's going to be the bad guy. I'm going to be the good guy at Voda here. We're both going after a property management company. Dustin's an independent, just does the restoration. I do both. I can now leverage the portfolio of the cleaning side of the business to meet immediate need for a property manager, a realtor, facility management company, to establish a relationship, to get in the door, to then position myself for future restoration work, right? Where if you're just a restoration company, you have to essentially position without kind of a transactional leverage standpoint of, I hope they call me when they have an event, and continue to build on that. So that does give our franchisees an advantage. And then when we're dealing with the residential business owners, we're going to do a really good job on a cleaning job. We're going to try and upsell from potentially just a carpet and floor to, upholstery, air duct, something along those lines. And then we're going to try and position ourselves. If they have future restoration events, the same team that took care of them today, we can take care of them. So there's a lot of different buckets in where we can get leads. We have a lead generation background. We have a model that builds off itself between the restoration cleaning and then gives us a way to ride the ebbs and flows of restoration and penetrate the marketplace with customers that don't have a restoration event at the initial onset and build a relationship with them to then get their future restoration business.
Huge fan. Love that approach. I did not think about it in terms of leveraging your referral sources for today's business in order to get tomorrow's, disaster needs. So that is smart.
What is the revenue split between the two? Is one more dominant?
Yeah, so our restoration is going to be more dominant, 80% or more. One of the factors to that is just the size of the lead, the job size between restoration. You're looking at about maybe 8 to 9 times the average revenue between restoration and cleaning on that aspect. And then also with a franchisee, right? If you're looking at your business model, you're trying to figure out, okay, how can I maximize revenue per van? And with the size of the ticket of restoration, our new item 19, our biggest restoration job last year was over $120,000. One of our franchisees did. The biggest cleaning job, which was a commercial job, was $12,500. So this kind of shows you that different, opportunity there with some of the size of the jobs as well. And I think that's something that able to provide on that end of, okay, if I have restoration work nonstop, that's great. Maybe I don't have to focus more on the cleaning end, but it gives you the ability. And then we talked about scaling, Matt, earlier on. As you continue to scale and you have more people and you got to keep more people busy, that's really, our corporate store has been open since 2009. So again, we built everything off that corporate location where they have a lot more vans and people. They have 13 managers and technicians they have to keep busy every day. So now they can kind of pivot through and do more where they can segment, okay, these guys are going to focus on cleaning, they'll focus on restoration and be able to do a bit more, especially as you scale. from one truck to multiple. If you have 1 to 2 trucks, you're not going to turn down restoration to go and do cleaning, right? Because of the size of the ticket. But that's something that you're going to see more and more growth. But it's just the average ticket of restoration is so high that that's where it's going to lead on that revenue standpoint.
And so, do you by chance have a breakdown of how much revenue you can generate from a single van before you have to move to the second?
I was gonna ask that.
Yeah, in our item 19, we do not have that there. It's a little bit harder to do at the stage that we're at to be very accurate with franchisees candidates. Why that is, for most part, our restoration van that can do both, it only needs to be at the job site for the initial extraction. Right. So that van can then be leveraged and moved. And then usually the next van that comes up would be like an empty cargo van that's moving behind equipment, or maybe just a regular van that's just checking the moisture reading. So it's kind of hard to, on the restoration front, to have a tangible of, okay, this van was used for this amount of revenue, being that they're kind of, you're cross using the vehicles itself. And you don't want to tie up your bread and butter van that does everything to a job where it's not needed there anymore, because that truck mount is no longer needing to be operating. The water's already out, so we don't have that for there. But as you talk to our franchisees, which again, part of our growth prior to this year and never having a franchisee item 19 is I've always leaned on validation to help with the evaluation process. And I think validation, no matter if your brand's 30 years old or 6 months, is one of the best ways of really getting a true evaluation of the opportunity. You're talking to franchisees that have no skin in the game if you sign up. Some of them actually are detriment if you sign up, because you could take their territory that's around them, and they're giving you an honest view of it. And so that's something where, okay, this person's doing this month, I know this kind of vans they have. The next person's a little bit different. We allow, as the build out, we scale that according to your business, right? Matt, if you're doing a lot of restoration work, we're not going to start scaling cleaning vehicles, right? We're going to pivot that there. And there's a lot of flexibility as we build that out, depending on what the franchise owner has seen the most success on and seen the most ramp up of revenue.
Uh,
I had another question, but I forgot. So does it what would you say is the split between semi-passive owners and fully active owners when they're going through validation? What should they hear?
So the one thing on our end is, as our team looking for true business partners, and just the semi-passive word for us is something where we try and get a little bit different. Liz, we have the manage the manager model. So you could clarify that as semi-absentee of what people talk about, but we want people to have a flexible schedule. Unfortunately, people that have a 9 to 5 job and are working at an office and they can't really get to managing the business aren't really a fit for us. Even though they're not doing the work, we need them to be able to oversee the manager, check in on job sites, make sure they know where the team at. It's not something where you're just hiring people and they're operating. Now, our corporate stores run fully absentee. We don't run it at corporate. Our founder doesn't run it. So it's a model that eventually you can build it to that. But there's a lot of upfront work to get things going, to get the right people on the seat from there. Looking at the numbers, about 40% of our owners started Voda with another job or business, but they were all flexible, meaning, okay, if I need to meet somebody next week, I can. If there's a fire going in my business, I can adjust my schedule according. Now, that could be, we like to call it teams. So husband and wife team. Okay, one guy a little bit less flexible, the other by. So that doesn't mean one person. It's a team effort, whether it's a son father duo or whatever it is. Somebody needs to be able to be visible to be managing the team in that model if they have other commitments. And it could be father and son, they both have a job, but they can kind of help each other when they don't have it. But the vision with people that have the other commitments, especially the W-2 jobs, we want to build a plan that eventually they be full-time in the business. And the question I'm going to ask them is, hey, if you felt like you were in the business full-time, do you feel like the business would grow at a quicker scale? That should be a question they automatically say yes to, but we give them a landing pad to kind of keep the safety of that job, see the vision early on, and be able to kind of juggle both initially. But it's something where we're not looking for anybody that wants a passive investment, and we're not looking for anybody that doesn't have a flexible schedule. If we had the right candidate, and we've had this happen, we've had some great candidates. They don't have a flexible schedule right now, but they want to sign up and build to a plan where the next 6 months they're going to leave that W-2 job, but they want to onboard, get ready, and then when the business is kind of operational, they're wanting to leave. That works for us too as well. But it's just somebody, when the business is open and operating, you need to have a flexible schedule. So that is a lot of guys that are remote. They have another business. They have a remote sales job. Those are all the kind of the avatars that we've seen so far.
Well, that's very realistic, and I love that you set that expectation at the beginning.
So we've covered a lot. And quite frankly, I can't think of anything, do you, that we have not touched on? Anything that either one of you want to make sure the viewers know that we haven't touched on yet?
Yeah. Dustin, you want to add anything that you feel like you want to touch on some of the topics that I covered?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I would just say is, support is what we do very well here. And part of those questions you're asking about growth, strategic, all of that, we're going to be setting you up on a regular basis with your success coach. We're going to be tracking your KPIs when it's looking time to grow, add employees, work through all of that. So the great part about this is really what you're doing is you're partnering with a company to bring Voda to your community. And that's what we do extremely well here.
Love that. I love that. I love the technology. Love the fact that you guys are helping recruit, the employees. All of that is amazing.
And there's a lot of chatter about Voda in our world. People are talking about you, and they love your success story.
Yeah, a couple things I want to kind of touch on is I think, as you're looking at franchise opportunities, right? I always tell candidates, franchising is a bit of a real estate play. And why I'm really excited about us here in 2025 is, as any emerging brand, there's challenges of proof of concept a little bit early on. Not everybody wants to be the first person to the dance party, right? Or the first person that's trying something. We've kind of hit this inflection point where now we have 70 open owners. We still have a lot of available territory. We have item 19 franchisee data. We also have, 70 open locations you can validate with, kind of all over the country. So that's something where I feel like as you're looking at, the potential franchise brands, between the leadership, the business model, the industry that we're in, especially with the current times we're in and the economy potentially having issues, one of the big things that we checked off from day one as a leadership team is we wanted to be in a recession-resistant business, something that was a need, not want. And I think that's something where we feel really good, no matter, again, don't want to just go through any kind of recession or anything like that, but we feel good about where we're at from a business standpoint of being able to continue to thrive and get economies during certain downsides, because it's going to happen, right? And over time, that's something where we feel like is there. Also, one thing that we love about restoration is the size of the industry. We feel like there's just not enough people doing this type of work. And then, it's as a new brand, how do you break into a marketplace? I think it's a big question I get, right? Because this is a big industry. There is some big players in the industry, right? There's billion-dollar companies there. And there's going to be a lot of mom and pop operators, right? Yeah, people have to really realize how big that number is for the competition that's going to be in your marketplace. But one thing that we really focused on and we liked about restoration was the lead acquisition standpoint. And that's something we really focused on with our marketing. If we can get the phone in the ring, we can have a great customer experience and get to that scene right away. We have a great chance of competing in any marketplace from day one on that restoration model too as well. And then the other thing I think is you're looking at different franchise opportunities. One thing that Dustin's standpoint on is how we grew early on with our brand of having really no franchisee numbers. The early process was the validation of our franchisees from the support structure. I think if you're buying in any franchise, why not do it on your own? Well, you want support, you want someone that's got the model, and you want to be able to call somebody when you're going through these different challenges. So that's something we really built into our team. I know culture is thrown around there a lot on that aspect. That's something that we've really leaned on from a support structure. And when you look at our growth, it also can be a great thing, but it can also be something that gives a little bit of hesitancy from potential candidates of, are these guys growing a little bit too quickly? We built a plan, we built infrastructure, hiring ahead of the process. And again, our experience has played a big factor in that too as well, where I think a lot of our new franchisees out of the gate have benefited from what we've learned over the last 2 years on top of what Dragon learned the previous 16 to kind of operate. And part of our culture is always kind of improving the things that we're doing on our end. And so I think, and then also the support staff that we've been able to hire and the talent we've been able to recruit at the size that we're growing for, I think we're positioned for really great growth. And our goal is to be one of the biggest restoration companies. So, we're a little over 2 years in. It's an opportunity that if you want to be a part of a emerging brand that also has a little bit of a track record now with a leadership team, I think we're poised for that opportunity. And, we also, if you're out there and you're kind of, wanting to engage, there's a lot of information on us on the internet. Our CEO is out there every day. That's also helped with our growth potentially down the road when it comes to national, regional accounts. I don't think there's any other restoration company that has the content that we're putting out there on the local level from a social media standpoint. It's really helped grow the Voda name out for our franchisees, and that's something we'll continue to do. And if you're interested, feel free to reach out to Matt and Jennifer. And then there's also some content you can look at us too as well.
I'm not sure I've ever seen somebody travel as much as your CEO.
Yeah, that's part of growing a business, right? And you know, we always talk about, back to that standpoint on our end, part of the growth that we've had is the effort and time that we put into this. And that's part of the, you know, what you're going to have to want to be if you're a business owner. Not everybody can be a business owner. That's okay. But if you want to bet on yourself, I tell a lot of candidates that, you know, go through, it's like, you know, you work so hard for somebody else. And if you want to kind of control your own destiny, whether it's Voda or something else, there's a lot of great other opportunities out there. This is all about an opportunity. And what we're so, you know, happy about franchising and thrilled to be part of this industry. It's an opportunity to empower yourself and have a little bit of bridge between being, you know, starting something brand new instead of kind of getting into a system, you know, and the support. And then also what a lot of people don't know as a candidate is you're buying into not only the leadership team, but other franchisees that are similar to you, that you can tap into, the resources available. You know, if I'm a franchisee that just started, I'm going to want to learn from the top guys. And we do a lot of job helping connect them too as well. And that's all part of that culture and support of not only us at corporate, but our franchisees wanting to help grow the Voda name out too as well.
Well, really quick before we end this, where are you targeting? What's your target markets? Where are you hoping to be soon?
Yeah, so we have a lot of different markets still available throughout the country. I think some of the top ones would be Charleston, Wilmington are some of those big markets off the top of head. We have Atlanta is still open for us. You know, also for us, you know, as part of being an emerging brand, we're going to be in these registration states. So now we're going to soon be in New York, Illinois. We just got some notes. We're going to get some communication out there. Minnesota will be brand new states we're able to franchise in for the first time. So we have some sold out markets, but we have a lot of available markets too as well.
Awesome. Well, super excited to see where you guys take this. No doubt that you're going to hit your goals of becoming one of the largest, if not the largest in the space. And so again, thanks for your time. For those of you watching, remember to hit the link below so we can check to see if your market is still one that they have available. And then we'll get with the team and talk through some next steps.
Thank you, Steve and Dustin. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Guys.
Hey, thanks for watching our interview.
Hey, thank you so much. There's a lot of opportunities out there. Be sure to check out the other videos and let us know if we can help.